Hello and welcome to a crossover of Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast, and to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast, as we take a look at our wish lists for Comic Con as we are approaching Comic Con, which runs from July 25th through July 28th in San Diego. My name is Jordan, and with me, sharing their wish lists are Chris. How are you today, Chris?
I'm doing great. It's a good day to be talking about all these things we want to see.
And Ron. How are you today, Ron?
Good, man. It's good to have the boys back together. It feels like it's been a little bit, probably since I think our draft with Anthony was the last time we all got
Oh,
together.
wow.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
excited to be here with you boys and chop it up and like you both said, kind of rattle off our wish lists here.
Yeah, the boys are back in town. All right. So I think we're going to do this in a way that we're each going to share two from Marvel and DC. And then Ron had the great idea of a miscellaneous one that doesn't have to be related to these two franchises, could be whatever. Or I guess it could be a bonus of one of those if you're, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. If that's not a hint that I don't have my miscellaneous ready, then I don't know what to tell you. But yes, we are going to be diving into that. You know, working on this, it was harder for me to come up with Marvel ones than DC ones this time, and
Wow.
I think it's because Marvel has given us uh so many like a slate uh 2 years ago that is
Mhm.
just totally outdated at this point. That I'm not even sure if I want an updated slate because I'm like, just call me when they're like airing, like when you're putting them in theaters at this point,
Yeah.
as we see with Blade and the news going on with Blade. But
Mhm.
with DC, the way that James Gunn's been handling it is not giving us any sort of release dates until things are starting to roll on this stuff. Um, so that one's been a little easier for me to be like, oh, we don't even have a full slate. Like he gave a brief amount of the chapter, that he was working on, and we'll see from there how that all shakes out. But yeah, so I found it very hard to come up with the Marvel ones. Ron, you said you had quite a bit of those written down in case if there were doubles.
Mhm.
So it sounds like it came pretty easy to you for Marvel.
Yeah, it did. But it's interesting because your take on DC and the difference between how Gunn did it and how Marvel did it back in I think it was 22 at this point when they rattled off like Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars and all those. I actually I don't know if I think Gunn might have done a little too much in that initial announcement. Like this is admittedly probably the first time since we've all talked about DC and stuff that I'm going to be I don't even want to say negative on Gunn a little bit because my faith in him hasn't wavered at all. I still think
Yeah,
it's
you
all going
better
to be
watch your
great.
mouth.
Yeah, yeah, God.
Let James cook.
This is my turncoat moment. I'm officially joining the Snyder cult. Sorry, guys.
How much
No,
are they paying
no.
over there?
I
Bitcoin.
wish. No. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So I kind of feel like Gunn did a little bit of that in the beginning too. I'll give Chris some time to kind of give his thoughts before we really dive in too. But I think DC would be a good place to start for that exact reason that you just were bringing up.
Chris, your thoughts on how easy it was or how difficult it was to kind of put the list together before we dive into each other's items?
I found Marvel brutal because we have a bunch of stuff already cooking, and we have a bunch of stuff that you know is kind of already set into motion, and we just really need to know how set in motion it is. Honestly, with Marvel, I almost want them to scale back at Comic Con and promise less. So that made my wish list a little harder because I just kind of want them to focus in on getting what they need to get done. With DC, it's I want them to scale up and they're not ready for that. So it's a completely different thing. With DC, it's like I you cannot tell me enough right now. And with Marvel, it's like you've told me so much already. I want to see things. So I found Marvel hard. I found DC quite easy, but I'm a DC guy, so you kind of already knew that. But yeah, it's interesting though because it's going to be different no matter who you ask. Like these wish lists just kind of generate in her head when we're not even thinking about them. Like we'll just be in the shower, but it's been forever since we saw something like that. So
Hmm.
um, it'll be interesting to see where we're at as a trio, as a triad.
Hmm. Then let's just kick off right in DC then, because
Yeah.
something you said too, Chris, in terms of how Marvel did the announce all this stuff, and then now we're just kind of waiting. I It kind of ties into my first wish list item for James Gunn and DC, which is a little more clarification on the process so far. I think it was a bit of a mistake to announce 10 projects last January. As fired up as it got us all, and it was like, yeah, this is the new DC, it feels like half of those projects have just gone radio silent since then, much in the way that Marvel kind of dug themselves into that hole, like you referenced, with things like Blade and Armor Wars, and Ironheart's been pushed how many times? Just go down the list. I don't know if it, especially knowing that the strikes were looming last year, because it wasn't something that took us all by surprise. This was something that was in the rumor mill for months and months. So I think it was biting off a little too much in the beginning in terms of throwing so much out there. Like realistically, in hindsight, which is definitely a benefit. Obviously, the benefit of hindsight is great and all, but I might have just kept it at maybe Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns, or one of the other shows that we already kind of had in production, like a Waller or a Peacemaker season 2. So with that kind of said, I would love to get just some more clarification on those lesser projects as a whole, like the authorities, the booster golds, things like that. I don't need casting announcements. I don't need like director. I don't Nothing like that. Just give us a little update on those projects that we haven't heard f all about since last January. I have some more specific ones here, but I'm very curious, as much bigger DC guys than me, to get your take on that. On if you think it was a bit of a mistake to announce that much early, and if you would come into this Comic Con and kind of roll in with some more unexpected nuggets about these lesser projects that we haven't really heard much about.
Let me get a few things out of the way first here too. Forgot to say, yes, we know James Gunn said he's not going to be at Comic Con. It
Yes.
doesn't mean
Hmm.
there's no presence. I guess they could show video, they could do whatever they want, but this is just a fun exercise we're doing, so I don't need comments being like, "Well, get ready for none of that to
Yeah.
happen."
For
But
true. Yeah.
two, I don't know how you guys did this for my wish list. I tried to make them realistic. Like I wasn't gonna like I didn't want to be like, and I want a Flash trilogy announced. Like
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
tried to keep this in the ballpark of what I could reasonably see
Hmm.
within the year, even if it's not Comic Con. Marvel's in a tough spot because they also have D23 later this year as well, so
That too.
they'll have to spread out the love, I guess. So my thoughts were yeah, I think it's interesting what you said because I'm totally fine with the 10 projects announced, and I'm fine with the progress that we're making on them right now.
Mhm.
I think I've radically changed. I've been radicalized. I've radically changed my opinions on this type of stuff. Like, I feel like I was one of those in 2022 that was like, give me the full slate Marvel and being like,
Mhm.
"Oh, 2 Avengers movies in 6 months, like this is nuts," and like all that kind of stuff. But over the course of the last year and a half to 2 years since then, I have started to be like, "You know what? Get it in order first." And what James shared, I think, were the things that were probably the most locked down. A lot of these
Mhm.
rumors are actually that there was a lot of rumors back then that these projects already had people working on them, um, and they just haven't been announced. A lot of times, that's stuff that needs to get contract locked down, or the way that they
Mhm.
announce them in the trades and all that kind of stuff. And I know one of the big things that people were like, "What? No release dates on these?" And that I am very thankful for because
Mhm.
it kind of gets rid of the negative press of anytime you shift it. And I want to say that like I'm negative on Marvel in that regard, but like it creates bad headlines, right? And then you see the reactions on social media where like this movie keeps getting pushed back. Yeah, because there were
Yeah.
strikes that you know uh, that prevented them from doing that. So then all of these movies have gotten pushed back. So much so that I always forget when Captain America is coming out. It's February,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Same
keep
thing with I
forgetting.
do the same thing with Thunderbolts. I'm like, when
Yeah,
is that?
when is that? Next
26? Is that
May.
what is that? Yeah.
Um, so that has been like something that James Gunn has been able to avoid a bit so far, right? The only two projects with dates, and that's Superman and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And that movie just got a date last month. So um so I guess I don't want to sound like a shill or whatever, but like in my opinion, I think I like the way he's handling it because he's waiting until they're about to go in production and they have
Mhm.
the director list and all this stuff. Marvel right now is here's Kang Dynasty, here's Secret Wars. Nobody's attached to them, and they're
Mhm.
coming out in 3 years. And you're like, okay, well they'll have to start making some progress on that soon. And
Yeah. We'll get there.
the
Oh, we'll
answer is
get
no,
there.
they haven't. Right? So that is so for me. I'm like, maybe you could have said, all right, uh, cut down a few of them. But I think
Mhm.
what he really wanted to highlight was how different this was going to be from anything else in the sense of all right, you're going to get your Superman, you're going to get your Supergirl, you're going to get Batman, but you're also going to get things like Swamp Thing, and you're going to
Mhm.
get Booster Gold and lanterns, stuff that maybe DC wasn't touching uh before, right? Because
Mhm.
like the closest thing we've had to Swamp Thing was I think it was a CW show that lasted 1 year.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and it's been a long time. It's probably been
That got canceled after its premiere.
yeah, like
Oof.
literally right after the
Yikes.
premiere, and then because I think it was on DC Universe first, or they put the rest of it on DC Universe.
Yeah,
However they did that.
it was,
Man,
yeah, it was
what
a
a forgotten
mess.
time in history the DC
DC
universe had.
Universe,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Great
Forgotten
idea.
media.
Everything DC on one app, TV shows, movies, comics. That was great, but
Uh,
execute
I,
it not so great.
I was there.
Um, yeah, but yeah, so that's kind of where I stand on it right now. Like I think maybe he could have announced a couple less projects, but I think it was really his point of, and I'm sure Zaslav is kind of like, we need a slate, but
Oh
like
yeah.
I'm very happy he didn't put dates on it. I'm very happy he was kind of like, here's the myriad of projects we're getting. And he kind of avoided saying, like, here's the team up, right? Like, we don't have one of those on the list, which I know Marvel's like really our only other company we can kind of look at and say, how do you do this? Right.
Mhm.
When it comes to these universes, and like everybody expects it to be the same way because James Gunn came from Marvel and he did all that stuff, but he's kind of showing with those chapter one, we're doing a little differently.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing because we're getting the ball rolling on a lot of projects. I think he was throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks, seeing what he could get people excited about, testing the waters. I don't think he ever thought it was going to go exactly like he did in that video when he put it out, but it got generation of discussion. It got huge waves and people got excited. And the only thing that's been promised has been Superman and Supergirl. And you know what? We know we're getting a Teen Titans movie being worked on, and that's freaking awesome. Um, so I'm very excited about the process. I think the process is pretty clear. You don't get any announcements on casting until you have a script. You don't get anything going until you have a script and a director. I think that's pretty clear. The fact that he's announcing the writing teams and they've made sense and they're not coming out of left field like what the heck or what. I think I get a people want to work on the DCU, and before James Gunn nobody wanted to work with DC. That is really exciting. I like that the spaghetti on the wall method. I'm very excited about it because it stuff is happening. We're going to get these projects whether this thing works out or not. We already got the ball rolling. We're not saying let's get Superman underway and then do nothing else. Just test the waters with Superman. No, we are getting the whole universe going, and the universe is going to be rolling one way or the other after Superman.
I I like to push back on that a little bit. I don't really see it as spaghetti being thrown at the wall. Like I'm he set out this plan. He you know
Yeah.
like I don't think he was like, hey, I'm just going to announce Swamp Thing and hope that people are excited
No.
No,
about that. Like
I
I
didn't
That
think
mean
it's
that
that
like
like
that would be
that.
very DCEU of him.
No,
yes,
That would
yeah.
be very
I didn't
DCEU.
mean it as
The Rock, we can get him.
disorganized. I meant
Yeah.
I meant it to see which projects get traction, which projects stick to
In terms of
talent.
which ones to prioritize
Yeah, and
in
which
that
yeah.
sort of way.
So he's throwing everything out there and he's seeing what gets going. He's
Mhm.
he's got a general outline, and then he's got the outline of actual possibilities, things that are actually real. So, and he's making them everything real as the same process. So I don't
Mm.
mean it sloppy and unorganized. I mean he's throwing every idea just at you, and he's
More
seeing
putting feelers out there
right.
than throwing
He
spaghetti
it's
at the
almost like
wall.
he's
Yeah,
saying, "Who wants
yeah.
these? Who wants these?" Because he can't do it all himself, and he knows it.
So,
Yeah.
Ron, I
I
know
think
you said you
yeah,
had sorry, just I want
yeah.
to so the first item on your list is more info from James Gunn. You said you had
Clarificate just
specifics, so I didn't know if you want to go into those as well.
yeah, no, that'll be for I'll give a more specific request like for my second one once you guys have each rattled one off.
Okay,
But
cool.
I wanted to start with that more kind of blanket one because it was a where we naturally started off in the conversation, but also I thought it would stoke a pretty good kind of back and forth here. I just it's one that I think until we start to see a little more, I'm still in the camp of like maybe it was too much. Like I think the one that sticks in my craw the most is Brave and the Bold, just because we've got this whole the Batman universe still going on too, and yeah, we know they're separate, but like we haven't heard again f all about that project at all. People are still not even sure what's going on with the Batman universe, so it just I feel like it's created a little bit of confusion, but not even close to what their counterparts at Marvel have done in recent years. And I'm a Marvel guy. Y'all know me, so I'm just I'm not just taking pot shots for the sake of it. But yeah, so that's my first one. Just kind of give us some clarification, the littlest tiny nugget on these projects that we haven't heard a single thing about since last January.
All right. So, I'll go here. I'm gonna go with. He said he had only announced like half of the projects in chapter one, and I'm not gonna say I want the other half, but what I do want, or what would be like my most pie in the sky one on my list here is confirmation of a team up movie, whether it's Justice League, whether it's um, called something else, or whatever it is. I want to see Flash on the big screen in a movie that is going to be a little bit more universally loved than 2023's The Flash.
Mm.
um,
Maybe with a little bit less of a controversial actor as well.
yes, a lot of less controversial stuff. No George Reeves and Nick Cage and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Oh god.
Um,
Yeah. Christopher Reeve. You mean?
no, George Reeves
No,
is in
George
it
Reeves,
too.
yeah,
Christopher Reeve
yeah,
is
Oh,
in it as well. But yeah, I
yeah.
meant the Adam West and all that stuff that they went with. They went pretty hard on that with throwing in a whole bunch of people. But I want to see, Flash is one of my favorites. I'd love to see him on the big screen. I'd love it to be Wally West and just kind of jump into, hey, and if that's not the case, then I want confirmation of Teen Titans to have Wally West in it in the lineup instead of, I kind of just want to see something about one of these team up movies. But like I said, I don't think that's actually going to happen. But that would be my wish list of, not to even know that we're building to something, but just hey, I want to see the Justice League done right on the screen.
the first tent pole. Yeah, you
Right.
want
You
that
know, for
first. You want
Avengers
the
right
first
now,
tent
we're
pole.
like we've both been saying for Avengers, and all of us been saying we want like an Age of Ultron movie where it's like the team is teaming up, we're getting the team, blah blah blah. But with that, at least I can go back to Avengers and Age of Ultron and Infinity War and Endgame and say, the Avengers done right on the big screen. I can't do that with Justice League. I like, look, I walked out. This is going to be controversial. I walked out of 2017's Justice League and said, "Yeah, that was good. Like, I cool."
Mhm.
Um, the I haven't watched it since though, so I mean, who knows at this point? But Uh, the aesthetic of the Snyderverse is not something I particularly dig. Like I like Ben Affleck's bat suit. Um, Not big on the Cavill suit. Um, then Wonder Woman with swords and all that kind of stuff's not really in my top moments. The Flash suit looks really bonkers. I don't like it. I like the one from the
Just
movie better than.
the unsaturated filter of it
Yeah.
all. It's like if that song "Mad World" was a visual form, like
Yeah,
that
it's
would
like
be
the
the
Gears
style
of
of
War commercial that played
Yeah,
Mad World.
yeah, yeah.
um, so like that aesthetic didn't work for me really. And guess what? The both Justice League movies we have are that aesthetic because you have Justice League and then you have the Snyder cut, which I can't stand the 4:3 aspect ratio either. I'm like, that's one thing that stops me from watching that again. Another thing that stops me from watching again is it's 4 hours. And another
Mhm.
thing that stops me from watching it again is Joker telling
Just
Batman he's
turn
going
it
to give him a
off
reach
before the
around.
epilogue.
All right.
Just turn
So,
it off before the epilogue. It's that easy. I do it every time
um,
I watch it.
Oh
I just don't watch that
god.
scene at the end. I just
then have you really
I
watched it? Have you really watched it that many times if you cut it off before it ends?
I,
Um,
I I've watched that twice. I'm good with that scene. You know after Martian Manhunter is standing outside of Bruce Wayne's loft and saying your dad would be proud. I'm done. That's all I needed. But I've watched it 4 times. So
but
I
yeah, like
actually need to
I
watch it
don't
again.
dig the aesthetic. So being able to see like more what I would think James Gunn comic accurate suits and like stuff like how Guardians look in a Justice League would be really great for me. Especially we don't know if we're gonna get like Superman 2 or what with that, right? Like that's gonna all bank on how this movie does. But um and if so, like, I'm really curious, would James direct and write Superman 2? Or is he like, oh, I was going to do The Authority, or oh, I was going to do,
Mhm.
uh, something else at that point. And it's like, but it's a hit, like a smash hit. Then he's like, oh, I got to do like Superman 2. Or is he like setting aside, like, if this becomes a trilogy, I'm doing all three. That's the
Mhm.
kind of like inner workings. I wish I could just sit down with James Gunn and be like, tell me about this. Like, it doesn't even have to go live. I don't even have to put it on the podcast, but I just want to know, like, how you're approaching if Superman's a hit, But yeah, so Justice League would be, or some sort of team up would be a wish on mine.
All right, for me, I want to see Peter Safran kind of take the center stage. I want to see the partnership between James Gunn and Peter Safran actually mean something because we've put it 100% on James Gunn. He says he can't be there. But wouldn't it be nice if you had the business guy say, "Hey, James can't be here. I'm here for him." You know, this
Mhm.
is a partnership where we're working with a lot of great people, and just give me something, whether it is just a uh little screen test of Superman in the suit, whether it's that Superman picture that everybody wants to see. Just give me one little nugget on Superman and a presence from the DCU, because I feel like if you don't give me a presence from the DCU, you're missing an opportunity. And if it's supposed to be a partnership, I'd love to see Peter Safran there. Otherwise, it really just looks more and more like it's the James Gunn show, and he's just kind of, that was part of the get James Gunn control thing. So I'd love to
Mhm.
see Peter Safran there, or somebody from DC, maybe a Tom King, maybe Scott Snyder is like saying, "Hey, I just came for the set Superman. Here's a cool thing to show you." That would be cool. I just want a little nugget, and I want a representative from the DCU.
Okay,
I'll,
that's fair. Yeah.
I'll just say, like,
Oh,
I don't need to see Saffron. Like, that guy is doing the money stuff. I don't need him to come on stage and be like, "Here's the plan." Like, I think if they were going to do anything, because I'm sure he doesn't really want the spotlight the way James does. So I'm assuming James would just like film a video. It's like, here's something that I wanted to
that's
share
my
with you,
guess.
and
And
do
that would
that
work with
because
me too, but I want a
yeah,
representative there and somehow of like, "Hey, we know we're busy, but we're doing something here."
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna tell me that if Gunn and Safran both walked in there with the first teaser footage of Superman, that it wouldn't be like the thing everyone was talking about. Like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of with you there, Chris. I would even take it a step further. That I think Gunn should make it a point to get there. I know that filming schedules are very tight. I don't make light of that at all or anything. But hopping on a jet for a morning, going to LA, doing a quick presentation, and coming back for a day doesn't. I doubt it's throwing the future of the Superman movie entirely off its axis. You know what I mean?
And if it
So
is, we got
I
bigger problems.
exactly.
I don't know if it's Superman at that point. Like, for me, because I'm on the opposite end of it. I'm like, don't show up if you're just gonna give me some BS or like little tease or whatever. Like, uh, I want them to actually make the content. I want the stuff that's actually going to get out there. So, I think he's supposed to jump right from Superman to Peacemaker, and Peacemaker is filming right now. So it might even just be Peacemaker that he's working on.
If
But
it's
yeah.
Peacemaker, especially, bro, make some damn time. Come on. I love Peacemaker, but you're telling me you can't get a day off the set of Peacemaker to go promote your brand new film universe that by that point will be about a year to the day away from
Right.
really kicking off?
To paraphrase Peacemaker, I don't care how many women and children you have to shake hands with, just get there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you there. I would like to see some presence there.
All
All
right.
right, so yeah, we have my second one. My second one is much more chalk, much more specific. Give us that lanterns casting, baby. We've heard in recent weeks there's been some rumors about or not even rumors. It's been confirmed by Gunn that the writers' room, Damon Lindelof is in there. I forget who the others are off the top of my head, but going by the sort of rough timeline of events of how things have gone so far with like Superman and Supergirl, it always starts, we get the director and we get the writers, and then there's a little bit of a break, and then we get the actors, like we got with Millie Alcock and Supergirl, like we got with Corn Sweat, obviously, and Rachel Brosnahan and all those actors. So timeline wise, from where a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, I forget exactly when, but when we got that news drop of the Lanterns writers room, it feels timeline wise like maybe a month and a half from now, 2 months. That's when you'd throw a first casting announcement out there. So I would love to see who they're going to get in that. I've said a few times, I think on here, I forget, but I forget if it was here or in our chat. But Dacker Montgomery is a guy that I think would be a great Hal Jordan. Another little chalky one, but I think that would be great is Zac Efron. And we got obviously Jon Stewart in that show too. It's really a shame that they wasted Aldous Hodge on the Black Adam movie because I thought he would be a great
You're
Jon
not
Stewart.
wrong.
I mean, he could be
He
cast
could.
in this now. It's a different,
That's fair.
He
universe
totally can,
technically.
but it feels a little like given how recent Black Adam was. I mean, if this was like, a movie that was made in the beginning of the Snyderverse and there's been some time since that character's been on screen, I'd be like, yeah. I mean, nobody really saw Black Adam anyway, so who knows? But ultimately, I don't think they would go with him. But another choice that I really like is Corey Hawkins. He was in The Walking Dead. He was, I think he was Dr. Dre in the movie. I'm drawing a total blank. What's the movie that they did about NWA? Straight Outta Compton. Thank you.
You're
Thanking
welcome.
myself.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Wow, all timer right there. Thanking myself for thinking of something. Yeah. Anyway, Green Lantern's casting. Give it to me.
I think that's a very real possibility if the trades don't scoop it first. Because I do
Mm,
think Lanterns will be pretty quick. Because this rumor about Lindelof working on it goes back to uh beginning of this year, late last year. So that means that
mhm,
they've probably been writing the scripts. That they should be moving pretty well on this. Um,
mhm.
I have a good. This is dumb. Let's cast Daily Show's Jon Stewart as as Hale Jordan.
Yes.
Hell, Jordan.
Yeah, because I'm like, then it'll get really confusing when you're talking about Jon Stewart. You're like, wait, the actor playing Hale or the character Jon Stewart? Who are you talking about right now?
As you get closer to fatherdom, your jokes get more and more corny, and it's just the natural progression of things, I guess.
It's the circle of life.
Yep.
Oh my
But no,
So,
gosh.
I do think that that would be great. I'm not good at the fan casting game, obviously, but that's I could see it happening. I do hope they start moving on lanterns soon. I do think this is the next one up after Waller. Um,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
All
kind.
right. So, what else do you guys got? Oh, sorry, Chris.
On the Green Lantern thing, I'm kind of on the John Boyega train for John Stewart.
Mm,
That I feel like it's about time that that man gets the role he really deserves, and he can really sink his teeth into because I think he's awesome.
mhm.
But yeah,
Agreed. By the way,
yeah.
totally agree.
Is it time for my number two?
Indeed.
Okay,
I guess
so
I usually go second, but go ahead. Yeah.
We just kind of
Jordan,
willy
please
this
go
thing.
forth.
Yeah.
Please go forth, Jordan. It's fine.
I kind of mentioned it last time with the confirmation of the team up. I want the confirmation that Teen Titans is happening, and I want it to be confirmed it's being led by Nightwing and not Damian Wayne. So
Mhm.
that's my number two.
Yeah. I would very much hope that to be the case because we still don't even know what's going on in the first movie they announced Damian Wayne for. So I
Right,
don't
right.
want them to start throwing him in all these different movies and we don't know anything about any of them. So yeah, no, I would much prefer to get a Dick Grayson led and it's just the more tradition like when you think of the Teen Titans, you think of Dick Grayson. Like it's just
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe I've just been vastly misinformed in all the years that I've known about the Teen Titans. But in my head, when I think Teen Titans, I go to Dick Grayson immediately.
Oh, you're
And
right.
I know the cartoon was also Damien, I believe, though, right?
Um, I think one of the cartoons it's Tim, but
Tim. Okay,
I'm
it's
not
just
sure because
Robin.
I haven't really watched the animated series of it.
Me either. Me either.
All right, so that was kind of mine. This is why we have backups. I wanted Nightwing. I wanted that pretty bad. So my number two thing for DC, I said I want a presence. I want some details or some storyboards or something from concept art from Supergirl. I want to see that it's an adaptation of Woman of Tomorrow. I want to see that they're committed to that because I think that's pretty cool. I love that story. I would love to see maybe we see, hey, here's Ruthie, who was a huge character in that story. Something like that. A detail that nobody will care about unless you read that story. And but that'll be huge. For me, just anything positive about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, I'm for, especially because Jordan took my number two.
Well, Millie Alcock got announced a pretty decent while ago. Like it would seem like we're due for a villain announcement for that movie at some point pretty soon.
Yeah, it's supposed to start filming later this year. They said so.
Yeah,
I would expect we're going to start seeing a lot more of the cast going around.
yeah.
So yeah,
No, I mean,
anybody
yeah,
from that, that'd be great.
yeah. That was one of the ones I had Supergirl villain written down here. So do one of you guys want to kick off Marvel just because I've got a little more here?
Last thing I'll say real quick is s- this is probably going to happen, I would think. But Superman's suit, like, have it on display at Comic Con or whatever,
Mm,
and
yeah,
we can get the full view of it. Like that would be cool.
That would be, and like the glass case with
Yeah,
all the lights around it and stuff. That'd be sick.
Hell yeah.
that was one of my
That's
backups.
that's the representative they're sending, Chris. Forget Peter
Yeah,
Safran and
they'll
James
just
Gunn. They're just sending the suit.
in Hall H. They're just gonna wheel out the
Or
suit and
Yeah.
sit.
or
Look at
just
that.
get
Put the
David
microphone in
Cornsweet
front
down
of it.
there. Just have David Cornsweet
Yeah,
walk out in suit.
That'd be cool.
that would be cool. That
Uh,
would be cool.
it's
Yeah.
not gonna happen. That's why I didn't say it. It's not gonna happen, but it would be so
Why
cool.
not? I'll be honest with you. Now that you say it, because I don't know how I didn't think of that, but that feels a little more likely than Gunn, almost knowing that Gunn is going to be busy. Like, if they were to rock up there with a piece of teaser footage, like, yeah, Corn Sweat and Brosnahan and Nicholas Holt, like all three of them, I could totally see them being there and doing a little thing on stage just to get the crowd going.
All right, so we'll transition over to Marvel. And you said you wanted one of us to start. I can give you something here.
Yeah, whichever. Yeah,
I feel like
let's do
this is the easy one. The give me. I said confirmation of what Avengers Kang Dynasty is going to be.
it. Yep.
Look, we've heard through so many reports this last year that because it has been around a year since they were like, oh, Jonathan Majors is in some trouble. That
Has it been a year
yeah.
already? Oh my god, dude.
So, my thought is, give us what you're changing the title to, or give me the confirmed director, give me the confirmed writer, because that stuff's been kind of bouncing around. Like I don't even know anymore, right? Like at one point it was Destin Daniel Cretton, right? And then
Mhm.
he left to focus on Shang-Chi 2, and then I forget who's recently been linked to it, but
I
just
don't know. Sean Levy.
oh right. So I mean, maybe they can't even give us that if he hasn't signed on yet. But give us the details on what you have for it. New title, um, new director, new writer, whatever you got. Just kind of show me the kind of the path we're going on with moving on from Kang. Is kind of my main gripe right now.
George, you took the words right out of my mouth, even down to the I have written down here, like, give us the path. Like, I almost feel like you could accomplish all of that just in giving us the title of the movie. Because if it's still Kang Dynasty, and they're not going to come out and be like and do another announcement for a movie they already did an announcement for, but we've got to get that clarification some way. And if the movie's still called Kang Dynasty, then we know they're just going to recast Kang. And if it ends up being like Avengers World War Hulk, then we know that this thing is just going in a much different direction. So yeah, that's pretty much the top of my list, and I'd imagine a lot of lists. Like this movie is 2 years from being made, or 2 years from being released, I should say. It's filming end of this year, so some clarification on that is not only would it be nice, it's pretty much essential at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I want to know what Marvel's building towards. I want to know who the main guy is going forward. Who are they focused on? Is it Doctor Strange? Is it Spider-Man? Is it probably not Captain Marvel? Is it Sam Wilson? Is it Captain America? Who's going to be the leader? Because we saw all this 60 character thing going for the next Avengers movie.
God, yeah, we did.
Just give me some direction on who the team who's going to be the focal point. I think it should probably be Spider-Man, but who's going to be the focal point?
It won't be, and it shouldn't be Spider-Man, and just in the sense that they don't have the rights to him. So I feel like it won't be him. He'll play a big role, but like they only have one movie left on the contract for Spider-Man. So I wouldn't want them to be like, yeah, I wouldn't want them to be like, he's going to be front and center, and then Sony be like, actually, we're going to pull him and put him back in our Sony verse, and then you're like back where you're left off, like right before No Way Home, where they had that whole falling out, and we had to hope that it would all get together. I just don't want them to run into that. But I would assume if I was building the team, front and center would be Doctor Strange, his movies have been doing well when you talk about money wise. You would still have Thor, who's still a big player in the universe. Mark Ruffalo Hulk. You have still,
Carol,
yeah,
even though the movie didn't
yeah, you still
do
have a
well.
lot
Yeah.
of the core Avengers. I would assume you're going to see more people like that than the people from the Disney Plus shows, like Moon Knight, She Hulk, Miss Marvel, even.
Yeah.
Um, Miss Marvel, I feel like if they're going to stick with the Young Avengers stuff that was teased at the end of the Marvels, I feel like that's where you would see her more than the main core. I feel like they're going to try to adjust to be like, okay, look, Shang-Chi was popular. He's in the team. Doctor Strange did well. He's in the team. Stuff like that. And then I would assume Captain America, Sam, is going to be a fixture as well.
Mhm. I I would say though, I do agree with Chris in the sense that he should, like, if we were taking all of the business and all of that,
Yeah, if they
which
had the
you ultimately
rights. Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
but yeah, the natural progression of the story with, you know, Tony like taking him under his wing and all that stuff, he should absolutely be the leader of the Avengers. But unfortunately, because of all that red tape, he won't be. He'll still be, you know, to your point, prominently featured and all that stuff. But yeah. All right. So I guess I'm up here, right? Well, you, Jordan, you mentioned it. I'm going with we need the Young Avengers announcement. I
Oh,
think it's the perfect, yeah. I think it's the perfect last project to put in between that. The I would say in between Blade and Avengers 5, but at this point, I'm just going to say the Blade date because God knows what's happening with that movie. But something between that November to May slate, I feel like Young Avengers would be perfect. Not only because they've been building up to it in projects like Hawkeye and the post credits of the Marvels and all that stuff, but it's also normally the Young Avengers feature the last prominent Kang variant that we haven't seen yet, and that's Iron Lad, Nathaniel Richards. My
and that's
only
an easy
fear,
recast too,
yeah,
because he's supposed to be younger, right? So I mean,
yeah, so
yeah,
yeah, he wouldn't have been Jonathan Majors anyway. They would have cast a younger character. My only fear is that they do this movie and they replace Nathaniel Richards with Riri Williams, Ironheart, and just don't like just totally ignore that whole like Kang multiversal thing that makes the Avengers, Young Avengers, really cool. I think that I'm a little afraid of that, but I'm cautiously optimistic that they will not do that. It feels weird for them to introduce Riri and not have her be a part of that team, but at the same time, it also would feel a little redundant to have two Iron people on the team. You know what I mean? Have Ironheart and Iron
true,
Lad. Although
true.
who knows? Although who knows? Maybe that can be like a bonding thing for them. I don't know. But either way, Young Avengers, I think if they do it, if they stick to the source material with it and do it as the true lead in to Avengers 5 and that whole Secret Wars, basically that whole massive event that's going to take place over that entire year. I think it would be great.
Yeah, no, Young Avengers is something that I want to see. It has the brand name Avengers that might get it a little box office boost, right? And
Mhm.
that's if they go with that name. I would assume that's the name they're going to go with, and not like Champions or whatever. Like,
Or Children's Crusade.
yeah,
They might go that route too.
I feel like they'd be like, we need to get Avengers in the title, and I feel like that's what they would do.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so no, that's it's funny with how they've been trying to build to this. We've been speculating Young Avengers since before WandaVision and right around then,
Mhm.
right? And
Yep.
DC might get there first with Teen Titans, which is insane at this point.
Um, in terms, are you in terms of just the project being announced
Uh,
or the project coming out itself?
Coming out, yeah,
Not a not a
yeah,
chance.
I think
Mm-mm.
so.
I don't think we're going to see Teen Titans for like 5 years at the minimum.
No, no, they
No,
already got the
no,
writer.
no,
Yeah,
they got the writer
it's gonna
going.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah, they got the
Because
writer going. Yeah, it's gonna be
well,
2 to 3 years.
Okay, hold on, because Teen Titan that wasn't part of the original Gods and Monsters announcement, was it?
no, no.
No, It just got going.
So that makes it even more wonky to me why Gunn would announce all these projects when they're not even the all the first projects that are coming out. Not to go back to a
Right,
prior
right, right.
topic, but like why would you not announce that?
Because I
Like
guess
instead of what
I
we
guess whoever what I'm assuming is that one wasn't announced then for some reason, or they actually didn't have the plan for it, and then they got a good script from the person that did
it just got
Supergirl, and they
fast
were
tracked.
like, "Yeah, this is great. Let's move it on." Um,
Okay.
that would be my guess, but yeah. So I do think it'll probably come out before Young Avengers, if unless they get the ball rolling uh, on that.
It would have to be Comic-Con. That's
Yeah,
I mean,
or
obviously it's
D23.
something that they've been. Oh, true. D23 through because we know it's something they've been cooking up already for at least a pretty substantial amount of time if they were thrown in post credits in the Marvels for that, which came
Right,
out
right.
last November. So it's probably something that's been in the works for a while. I'm guessing they intentionally held off on that so that they could announce it as like the lead in to Avengers 5 and like make that like the cornerstone announcement instead of just throwing it in with those zillion other things they gave us in 2022.
Yeah. So who's gone so far? You, I
Uh
have.
yep.
Did Chris go yet?
I kind of
Yes,
went,
Chris
yeah,
yeah.
You've already done your
Yeah.
two, right? Is that what you're saying, Ron?
No, I've only given one for Marvel so
Okay.
far.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back around to me. Okay.
Mhm.
Here's gonna sound crazy, I guess, but here's my wish list. I don't want that many announcements. I don't want like I kind of said that earlier. I don't want a new slate, but you can give me an updated slate. But here's where Marvel is kind of in a predicament, right? They gave us a full slate, and then the strikes happen. Then you also have Bob Iger come back and say, we're going to slow down. And at the point where
Mhm.
we have Ironheart filmed and it's not going to come out until next year. So I don't want an announcement of a new show that is not going to happen for another 2 or 3 years. Like, let's, at that point, there's been so many things announced that during the Chapek era, where then they had to backtrack it during the Iger era. And at this point, I'm like, just tell us what is actually happening soon. And
Mhm.
then next Comic Con, you can tell us the next stuff that's coming. Like, we don't need to know the full uh 5 years that you have planned right now for the rest of the multiverse saga. Like, let's give me the update on the Avengers, give me maybe Young Avengers, and then say, hey, we got great stuff next year with Ironheart and Daredevil coming out. Can't wait for you to see that. Here's a clip of Daredevil. I don't know. Like, they can do that kind of stuff instead of, being like, well, after this stuff, X-Men's coming. And it's like, yeah, we know that because it's been in the trades. Like, we don't need like the logo that's going to change 100 times. How many times do they change these damn logos? I'm losing my mind. Like,
Yeah.
I know,
That's a big Star Wars one too. They love doing that. They love switching logos.
yeah, because they'll be like, and this sounds the most like the most insane complaint, I'm sure, but they'll be like, here is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness logo, and it changes 5 times before the movie comes out in 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
what
they're
are we
never for
doing?
the better.
No.
Never for the better. Like the Secret Invasion, the first logo was a million
Yes,
times
it was
better.
the comic logo.
Thunderbolts. Yeah, we don't even know what's going on with the Thunderbolts logo.
Yeah, they're
It's
like,
just
throw an
basic font.
asterisk at the end of that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so who knows? But yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah, so I love getting the logos when they first put them up, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I use it for the graphics we make on all this stuff. But then they change it a million times. I have to make sure I have the right updated one and all this kind of stuff. Like you said, they're never for the best. So I guess that's 2 points. Not a lot of announcements, and stop changing the logos on this.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on those. All right, Chris, give us one more here for Marvel.
I would
See if
love
you got it.
I would love to see a little teaser, a little something on Thunderbolts. I'd like to see some of that come together. I feel like we've got so little of that, and it's supposed to be really soon. So I'd like to see something going on with Thunderbolts. Because I'm not sure they're in love with this project. I'm not sure that they really wish they had started going down this road, but they went down this
Mhm.
road, and I want to see if they're actually going down the road. So I want proof of life.
Well, they're
Yeah.
filming, so I mean that's.
Well, I know.
They just wrapped filming, actually.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
I want to
But
see
I'm
a
with you.
little. I want to see a little sign of life there. Um, they might get some credit, some tax credit ideas from Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on that though. It feels like they've got this crazy multiverse story going on, and we've got this thing with Kingpin in New York that's going to be affecting Daredevil and Spider Man and likely the Avengers too. You'd imagine, and they've got like these this whole thing with the Eternals and the Celestials going on, and like all this stuff. And then there's just this like redheaded stepchild of this like Florence Pugh Julia Louis Dreyfus story that they started back in 2020 that
During the
hasn't really.
pandemic. It was the
Yeah.
during the pandemic, Black Widow, and it's like still nothing. I
Mhm.
just I feel like I was kind of interested, and then I was like, oh, nobody wants this, and now I'm like, but I still kind of want this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be okay. I just think that it's one that, like, if you got Kevin Feige in a private conversation and you were like, do you think you wish you maybe took that one back and instead just put that time reinforcing the other main stories you're trying to tell?" He'd probably be like, yeah. Like, I'm sure he would much rather have a young Avengers in that slot than Thunderbolts just kind of there taking it up.
well, sure, so would I, but that it's not like that's going to happen. So
Yeah.
give me signs of life on something we're supposed to be getting.
Mhm. If you had just swapped Thunderbolts and Blade with Young Avengers and what I'm about to say as my second hope here, it would have been perfect. And that second hope is for Doctor Strange 3. I hope that they announce it for in between, because at this point I don't think there's going to be enough time to get that uh, in that Blade to Avengers 5 time frame that I was telling you about. I would much rather get Young Avengers in there and have Doctor Strange 3 be sort of the buffer that connects Avengers 5 to Avengers Secret Wars the following year. Uh, Depending on the route they go with Avengers 5, because there's, we heard the 60 plus people thing. We've heard it's going to be a grounded movie. We've heard it's going to be a multiversal crazy fest. We have no clue yet. I would
Neither
like
do
that
they.
movie. Maybe not yet. Who knows? But I would very much love to see them do. I don't even want to say just a street level Avengers movie, but something that feels like a big deal, but isn't necessarily just all multiverse. But give us some multiversal aspects of some things that are going on, that we're not really sure why are these things happening, and then we get that Doctor Strange movie in between that kind of cleans up all that stuff that we saw begin to play out in Avengers 5. And then by the end of that movie, and we see what him and Cleo were doing and all that, we are full steam ahead to Secret Wars. So I think really the two most essential projects that haven't been announced yet that need to be announced, that sort of complete this whole multiversal story, are Young Avengers and Doctor Strange. And I hope those are the two announcements. If we get new announcements for projects, I hope those are the two that we get. Also, I have to add it in here. I was going to say it off the rip and I just forgot. Nova, obviously. Just for my own personal
We
preferences, I
said
had to throw it in.
realistic stuff though.
Yeah. Unrealistic at this point. It's very realistic. It's totally realistic. It's gonna happen. Yeah. No, I really hope at some point we get some announcement on Nova, but I'm not holding my breath. And at this point, I don't really know if I would want them to just throw it in there before all of this Secret Wars stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, Nova would have been a great thing to introduce right after Endgame, and you could do the flashback to when he attacked Xandar, and then you'd be able to have a great origin intro there.
Yep. You're telling me, brother. You're telling me.
It's a shame. Um,
Yep.
yeah, no, I I agree
It's a good
that
thing we got She-Hulk, though.
we're kind of getting
Sorry.
to the point where there's 6 years between sequels, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi at this point came out in 2021. It's been 3 years. They haven't
One.
even started filming. So at this point, you're
Mhm.
looking at 4, 5, 6 years until Shang-Chi 2.
It's such a problem, dude. It really is. And like Strange, the same thing. The earliest that we
Strange
could
was 6, yeah.
possibly see him will for between the first and the second one it was 6, but from Multiverse of Madness until the next time we could even potentially see him is going to be another 4. So like that's just it's not okay. Like
Yeah.
listen to me, it's not okay. But it's not ideal
Well,
to go that long
because we've
between seeing characters.
look, everybody keeps holding up Tony and Steve as like those were our main Avengers, right? And you could throw Thor in there too. All three of them had a trilogy before those Avengers final movies at the end of the Infinity Saga. And then they
Mhm.
had interactions in a couple Avengers movies beforehand. But for whatever reason, they decided Avengers movies are going to only be at the end of a saga now. And that hurts. Like you said, with the Thunderbolts, it's like, okay, what if you had made, instead of Thunderbolts, another Avengers movie where they maybe face off against the Thunderbolts or something? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, uh,
Yeah.
but instead, we're going so far. And I get originally their plan was to have um, that whole thing wrapped up in like 3 or 4 years, right? But that's not realistic anymore. So I'm very curious on how they course correct after the multiverse saga. I think most people are just going to write off this saga at this point and be like, "All right,
Very
give
much
me
so.
the next saga and show me you learned from this." As much as I'm still a big fan of the saga, I've still liked more stuff than I didn't like. So
Mhm.
that has been a win in my book. But look, the public perception is there. I would love how I talked about. I would love to just talk with James Gunn about how he plans for this stuff. I would love to do the same thing with Kevin Feige and be like, what was that original plan when there was two Avenger movies 6 months apart? Where like they're not going to feature the same people? Were they supposed to have a cliffhanger and we just get that resolution after 6 months instead of a year? Like, what was the plan originally? And I wonder what he would say if it was like, well, we were still actually writing it. We just thought this sounded good. And we announced it. Because, I mean, at that point, they still didn't really have the writers and stuff locked down, according to, I guess, what we know. When that stuff leaks after, the presentation and stuff. And
Mhm.
I would kind of love to enter a multiverse where I get to see that original lineup with no COVID, no strikes, and just see how did this work out,
Yeah.
and what those movies were like. Same thing like when you look at the original DCEU announcements back in like 2014 when they're like, we're gonna make a all these movies, and they never did. I would love to like go into that multiverse too and be like, what did those movies look like? And then see if we're better off now or not. Like that's what I kind of
You
want
go
to
into
know.
it, it's just everything's on fire. It's like the SpongeBob meme. The people they're running
The
around with the
community
papers
meme when
flying
he
everywhere.
walks in with the pizzas and
Yeah, yeah.
it's all on
That's it.
fire.
Yeah, yeah. Love it.
All right.
All right.
Our miscellaneous. We still have to do our miscellaneous ones. I don't
Mhm.
have mine still yet. So let's go ahead to Chris. Kick us
Yeah.
off because Ron kicked us off for DC. I kicked us off for Marvel. So Chris, give us your miscellaneous pick. It could be any franchise.
I want to see anything they've got going for TMNT: The Last Ronin. We've talked about how they're gonna make a Last Ronin, R-rated Ninja Turtles movie. It's a cool concept. I don't know how it's gonna jive with people. I would love it to be, like, really awesome. It's actually a book
Raphael just
I
pulling
haven't
people's
read
hearts
yet,
out of their
but,
chest.
uh, I'm a big Ninja Turtles guy. I think to have a darker One Turtle Remains story could be really awesome on the big screen. Um, I wanna see what they got going. Um, I know were talking about making that a video game at one point, or if they already did, I now they're talking about making a movie. I honestly kinda like to see more of the, animated Ninja Turtle stuff going, the
Mm,
their regular format. We just had Mutant Mayhem, which was actually pretty fun. Like, maybe a follow-up to that. Give me something
mhm.
Ninja Turtles and get me excited about, Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo, and Mikey. That would be
Yeah.
great.
It seems like people were super stoked for Mutant Mayhem. I'm not a huge TMNT guy, but most of the reviews I saw were pretty positive. No.
No, it was fun. I saw it after the fact because I don't a lot of kids movies I don't want to go see in the
Yeah,
theaters. First
yeah,
off, it's annoying. Secondly, the dads just look at you like, what is this guy doing here alone?
yeah.
But like, it's just a weird vibe. I don't enjoy it. But
And
what?
I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I go to whatever. My wife and I went to see like Moana together,
Yeah,
and
with your wife.
yeah, but I mean,
With
like I
your
I
wife,
went
it's
to
a
see
huge
Lego Batman
difference.
by myself. I mean,
Yeah.
I sat in the theater
Well,
by
that
myself for Lego
Lego
Batman.
Batman's a little different. That's a little more. Uh, but Yeah. Anyway, I saw it after the fact, and I was like, "Damn, this is really good." So I like Mutant Mayhem. Give me any follow up to that. So that'd be cool. Anything Ninja Turtles, I'm always down for.
Nice, nice. All right. So I'm going to throw another honorable mention because we didn't talk on it, but Spider-Man 4 probably feels like a lock of an announcement for this Comic Con,
Yeah,
right?
should be on the
Assuming that
Sony
they're shooting
probably.
to, yeah, assuming that they're shooting to put that thing out there at the end of next year, seems highly likely. I don't think there's really anything groundbreaking we can share on it. We know pretty much at this point that Daredevil's probably going to be involved, and nobody knows Peter Parker. Like we haven't really gotten too much concrete on it, so not really too much to add. But it's about time to get some more Spider-Man in our lives. Okay, miscellaneous. I wrote down here. Whoa, frog in my throat. Don't mind me. I wrote down here, show some love for the Star Wars video games, man. Whether it's a Cal Kestis live action series, Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, or stay with me here. Uh, I've been doing a little research recently in an attempt to sort of expand my Star Wars sandbox beyond that like Phantom Menace on sort of era that I've always stayed in. And I've been doing some research into the Old Republic, specifically something that I've seen pop up in a lot of the videos I've been watching and the things I've been reading is the Mandalorian Wars, which for those people out there who don't know, it's a war between the Galactic Republic and, as you would imagine, the Mandalorians, the Jedi and the Republic. But what really kind of interests me about it is that it feels like it's a lot more adult, I guess would be a good way to put it. A lot more mature than some of the other Star Wars we've seen so far. And the main kind of prevailing theme that I seem to get from it, again, I'm no Legends expert. I'm very just still scratching the surface on this stuff. But that sentiment of like, is the sacrifice that we're making worth the means to the end that we're working towards here? Because the Jedi and the Republic are winning the war against this, sort of much smaller Mandalorian army, but they're losing mass amounts of casualties in the process, and it creates a lot of morally gray decision making that ultimately ends up, turning certain people to the dark side. I'm gonna try to be a little vague just in case it does happen, even though all this material has been out there for a dozen years now or whatever. But it's a very very interesting story, and the way it all culminates on Malachor, there's it has galaxy and force breaking repercussions, on the back end of it. So if they were to give that show the Clone Wars treatment, I'm saying animated here, by the way, not live action. If you can do what the Clone Wars did for the prequels to that era, only even a little more, because for so many people, it'll be the introduction to that era entirely, not just more coloring in the outline that was drawn in the prequel series. This would be introducing the masses to a time frame in Star Wars that we haven't seen much of on screen. We've gotten the video games and we've gotten books and stuff like that, but in a mass sort of sense, it's an era of Star Wars that we haven't really seen anything on. So if you were to do that in an animated style and have much more room to do things visually that you couldn't do in live action, and in terms of building a more ensemble cast, I feel like you can get away with that a little more in a cartoon where if it's like, oh, this character isn't in this episode. Whereas, if it's a big name actor in their cast in a show, it's like, oh, they're the moneymaker. They got to be in it all. So if you were to do a sort of restriction free animated Clone Wars style show on the Mandalorian Wars, you could even just call it the Mandalorian Wars. I think that would be an awesome way to start dipping the masses toe into that old Republic time frame.
I would love to see the confusion when people are like, "Oh, the Mandalorian Wars. I wonder where Grogu and the Mandalorian are." And
Yeah, yeah, that would confuse the hell out of people. It definitely would. But I'm sticking to it. I know I went on a little bit of a diatribe there, but I've been really trying to dive down that pre Phantom Menace Star Wars rabbit hole. And the Mandalorian Wars specifically has been the rabbit hole in the last couple of
Mm.
weeks. So lined up good
Have you
with
not
the
played
show.
like Knights of the Old Republic or anything?
Negative Ghost
Oh
Rider.
my god, it's one of the greatest games of all time.
I know, I know, I know.
It's so good.
I wasn't too big of a, weirdly enough, I didn't become a gamer like a big time gamer until later in life. Like when I was a kid, I don't know, was never a huge video game guy. I played them, but
Mm.
not nearly as much as I like to now.
Well, that's what you gotta do. You gotta play Knights of the Old Republic now.
Dude, I am halfway through a 9-hour video on the history of Darth Revan. So
Okay, all right, there you go.
so we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Okay, so I think mine is gonna be uh there's news like a year ago or something that Netflix is working on a live action Pokemon series. Give me some
Mm,
updates on that, if that's still happening or not, because I am a Pokemon fan. So that or like a Detective Pikachu sequel or some sort of live action movie. I want some news in that realm for me. Something I can watch. I loved Detective Pikachu the movie, by the way, but
mhm.
I know a lot of people are like they should have just done a live action anime one, like based off the anime,
Of the show, yeah.
which I still don't want. Like I don't want a live action Ash, which that's probably what Netflix is going to do since that's what they've been doing with One Piece and Avatar and stuff. But
Starring Ezra Miller.
yeah,
Oh
but my
god.
whole thing with that is like I don't know how that will come across in live action Pokemon. In the sense
Mhm.
of like, I understand why they did Detective Pikachu because it's like you can have fun with that and not have to worry about like people are like, should have been a movie of them going through and getting all 8 badges. I'm like, what do you want to see? You just want to see some guy walking into gyms and be like, I challenge you, I get the badge, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Like that would be kind of boring
I did
as a
that
film.
37 million times as a child. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
need to do it again.
And then
I,
there will be
yeah.
people like, oh, Brock's actually supposed to have an Onyx here, and they had him with 2
Yeah.
Geodudes, and you'd be like, oh my god, what are we?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what
It's
I
a
want.
no-win situation. Yeah. It would uh, damn it, now that I'm thinking about it though, it would be kind of cool if they did a live action Pokemon show with, we'll say, like 10 episodes, and the first 8 is each of him going from gym to
Yeah,
gym to
yeah,
gym. Each episode has a gym, and then it culminates in the finale with like the final 4 and all that. That'd be kind of sick. But you could do it in a way that's, or maybe you can, I don't know. But I would think you do it in a way that's like a different region than just, Kanto, and it's just, the same old thing, like Chris said, that we've played 37 million times on our Game Boys throughout the years.
yeah. That's what it's like. That's what people think they want. But I think if they go in and watch that
Hmm.
movie, they'd be like, "Oh, I had a Charizard at this point. Why does this guy have a Charizard
Yeah.
at this point?" It's like,
Uh,
just play the game.
yeah.
Or
All
they'd be
right.
upset about the starter Pokemon that the guy chose. No, he should have chose the
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Squirtle, you know,
What idiot chooses
Everybody
Venusaur? Or,
knows No,
Bulbasaur.
everybody
yeah,
knows you go
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur first in Kanto because
You should.
he's best for those first 2 gyms. So
Hmm.
that's what people would be critiquing. They'd be like, he chose Charmander to what? Make it hard? What are we doing here?"
I'm
The
a
first
team
gym's
Squirtle
rocked. What,
every
what are you
time.
doing? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Squirtle's good for the first gym.
Mhm.
not so good for second and third gym.
Yeah, but Blastoise is the end game
Second
there. That's
Second is Misty, and third is
is
Lieutenant Surge. So then you're at a
Lieutenant Surge, right?
disadvantage on the third gym.
Vermilion
Yeah.
City. Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll wrap us up here. So, listen to this episode right before Comic-Con and then laugh at how wrong we are. And
yeah,
that's why we didn't call it a prediction show. It's a wish list. We know some of this stuff is
absolutely.
not going to happen. So, and we're not trying to tell you that this is what's going to happen. So don't come in here and be like, they never announced that. Because you won't get a response.
Anybody who's been listening to us for any amount of time knows that we're wrong about everything anyway. So
Yeah,
it's old
that's
hat
true.
at this point.
That's true. But you can follow both of the podcasts, Elseworlds at Elseworlds DC fan on all of our social medias. To the Infinity Saga and Beyond for the Twitter would be at TO Infinity Saga. And then I think it's To Infinity Saga and Beyond on Instagram. And yeah, they're all in the links below as well if you're listening to the audio version, or if you're watching, it's in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channels for both of these shows, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more people find the show. Ron was talking some Star Wars. If you want to hear him talk some more Star Wars over on the Pod Awakens, we have had our Acolyte coverage going strong over there, so make sure you check that out as well. That's it. So thank you all for watching and listening. We will catch you next time. At least Chris and Ron will, when they probably discuss what actually happened at Comic-Con. So keep an eye out for that.